Here we go. I love the council. I just want everybody to know that. Okay, let's call the City of Milton Common Council meeting to order Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at 6:06 p.m. And can I get confirmation of the appropriate meeting notice?
Meeting notice was posted on Friday, February 3rd at Hometown Ace Hardware, Milton Piggly Wiggly, and Milton City Hall.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. And Larry Lane is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, we have the meeting dedication, public comments, and regarding items which can be affected by council. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Are you sure? Okay. Okay, someone's saying no, like with big gestures. All right, and we will move on to the meeting dedication. Okay, in honor of Black History Month, and we will have a proclamation on that, I am dedicating this meeting to our historic gem, the Milton House. And I know all of you appreciate it and know about it, but it never hurts to be mindful of the history that we have, and that the Milton House is dedicated to keeping alive. So I'm dedicating the meeting to the Milton House. Our first proclamation is proclaiming Black History Month, February 2023. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1926 of Negro History Week by Carter Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas the theme of Black History Month for 2023 is Black Resistance, which explores how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms, especially the racial terrorism of lynching, racial pogroms, and police killings since the nation's earliest days. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And whereas the story of Milton, since its foundation, has included progressive, abolitionist views and actions that led to the Milton House, a former stagecoach inn built in 1844 by Milton's founder, being named a National Historic Landmark, recognized on the National Network to Freedom, and documented as the only authenticated Underground Railroad site in Wisconsin, people are able to tour. And whereas Arthur B. Lee, a free African American man born in Charleston, South Carolina, in 1833, who served in the Civil War, moved to Milton in 1868. And whereas Arthur B. Lee wrote about the voting potential of African Americans in 1873, a few years after the 15th Amendment was passed, in a letter to the Milwaukee Journal titled, "The Colored Man," saying, "If we are citizens of the country we are, and must be the equals of all other citizens in matters pertaining to citizenship. We do not ask, we don't desire any legislation interfering with private and social matters, but our public rights we must have because it is necessary, and we will have because we can poll 1 million votes. And whereas the mayor and common council continues to work toward becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas the City of Milton is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans in our community throughout our state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Anissa M. Welch, Mayor of the City of Milton, County of Rock, State of Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim February as Black History Month in the City of Milton and encourage the celebration of this month to provide an opportunity for all residents in the city to learn more about the past and to better understand the experiences that have shaped our community and nation. Well, thank God there's people here to help me stay organized. Okay, so this was a request, and it's always fun to honor requests. And this was an email, and it's a proclamation: Future Business Leaders of America Week, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Whereas Future Business Leaders of America is a nonprofit educational organization whose first chapter was established in Johnson City, Tennessee in 1942, and whereas Iowa became FBLA's first state chapter in 1947, and whereas Milton High School officially chartered its FBLA local chapter on November 12th, 1974, and whereas FBLA includes more than 250,000 members and advisors in 4,600 chapters nationwide in middle schools, high schools, colleges, universities, career and technical schools, and private business schools. And whereas FBLA is a professional business organization dedicated to bringing business and education together in a positive working relationship through innovative leadership and career development programs. And whereas FBLA members perform community service activities and strive to build a student's understanding of the realities of the modern business world. And whereas FBLA teaches middle school, high school, and college students basic business and leadership principles and assists them in the transition from school to work. Now, therefore, I, Anissa Welch, Mayor of the City of Milton, do hereby proclaim February 5th through the 11th, 2023 as National FBL Week in the City of Milton and School District of Milton. Okay. Approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2023-02 urging legislature and governor to fix broken system of funding critical local services. As many of you know, this has been an issue that the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, which the City of Milton is a member of, and I have served prior on their board of directors, has been working on for many years and really has been actively working on this for the past couple of years, and are requesting that municipalities and townships and counties throughout the state make sure their voices are heard in regards to how shared revenue is returned back to the municipalities. And we have a resolution, and the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and the Towns Association and the Counties Association have been working on this issue collaboratively, which is huge because, they're different forms of government, but they all have the same issue that they need the state of Wisconsin to be equitably returning the shared revenue to them so we can continue to fund the services that we provide. So I'll read the resolution. Whereas Wisconsin's system for funding vital local services like police, fire protection, EMS, well-maintained streets, parks, and libraries is broken, unsustainable, and needs to be reformed. And whereas communities are forced to rely on property taxes and flat or declining state aid to pay for critical local services that residents and businesses need, and whereas state sales and income tax revenues have tripled in the last 30 years, but the share of those taxes going to support police, fire, EMS, and other local services has gone down. And whereas over the last 20 years, state aid for police, fire, and other critical services has steadily declined in real dollars, while inflation has caused average prices to increase by 51%. The funding level for county and municipal aid in 2003 was $938,529,507. Today it is $753,032,613. And whereas county and municipal aid payments to the city of Milton has dropped from $1,150,141 in 2003 to $1,073,199 in 2022, whereas the steady decline in the state's contribution to the cost of critical local services has forced communities to rely more heavily on property taxes to maintain police, fire, and EMS service levels, and whereas the over-reliance on property taxes to pay for critical local services must end, and whereas to compete globally, Wisconsin needs to develop and maintain quality communities that can attract and retain talent and enterprise and spur job creation. And whereas for local communities to flourish and the state's economy to grow, state and local leaders must work collaboratively. And whereas local governments need reliable, growing, sustainable, and diverse sources of revenue to continue to deliver police, fire protection, ambulance services, and safe streets now and into the future. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Milton urges the legislature and the governor to work collaboratively with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Towns Association, other local government leaders, and business leaders to create a better way of funding local governments that includes revenue options other than property taxes to continue delivering police, fire, EMS, and other critical services.
I would enthusiastically move adoption of this resolution 2023-02.
Second.
There's a motion and there's a lot of seconds. And I am happy and encouraged by the support of us encouraging a fix for this solution. So all those in favor of this resolution, say aye. Is there anyone opposed? That resolution has passed, and we will forward that to the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and to those at the state level that are expecting to hear from us. All right. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 2023-506, rezoning requests for 44 2nd Street from R3 Residential District 3 to B3 Central Business District.
So Stockman Property Assets has recently acquired the property located at 44 2nd Street, which is currently developed with the former Methodist Church, which has been a vacant facility for a number of years. I'm not sure exactly how many, but probably 20 plus. Mr. Stockman's development group intends to redevelop the existing church structure with a mix of uses, including commercial type uses in the basement and ground floor, as well as residential uses on the third floor. In order to accommodate this mix of uses, a rezoning is likely required. And after long discussions with staff, the developer, and legal counsel, ultimately decided that B3 was probably the most appropriate zoning classification due to the mix of uses. Furthermore, this property specifically is designated in the city's Junction Square Master Plan as the number one redevelopment and infill site within that plan. On the dais this evening in front of you, there's a map that shows that designation, as well as the narrative that is supporting it. That plan was amended and further adopted in 2015. The Plan Commission reviewed this rezoning request, and the Plan Commission's role within this process for any rezoning request is to make sure that the rezoning request is consistent with established city plans. Based on the Junction Square Master Plan, which is a portion of our comprehensive plan, staff believed that it was congruent, as well as the Plan Commission, which forwarded a favorable recommendation to the Common Council. A public hearing was held at the Plan Commission level, and several residents spoke. They spoke about potential concerns with traffic and potential concerns with parking. The applicant has indicated that he intends to construct an off-street parking lot that would serve this facility on an adjoining parcel that he also owns. But it's important to note that that parcel is not under consideration for rezoning. It is only the church facility to allow for the mix of uses. The Plan Commission ultimately forwarded a favorable recommendation to the Common Council unanimously, and Ordinance 2023-506 would essentially effectuate that favorable recommendation and amend our zoning map to redesignate this property as B3 to allow those mix of uses to be present within that facility upon completion of the internal renovations.
Any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-506. Approve the first reading, waive the second and third reading, and adopt.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or anything further from anyone?
That's a good idea.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries.
I will abstain.
And Eric will abstain. Discussion and possible action on ordinance 2023-507, rezoning the property along Bowers Lake Road from R2 Residential District 2 to R4 Residential District 4.
So this is property that that was formerly the Bonnie Mead Golf Course. Those members of the Plan Commission and the Common Council may recall that late last summer, there was a request that was brought before both the Plan Commission and the Common Council to have a portion of this property, approximately 5.9 acres, rezoned to a PUD, or planned unit development. Upon further discussion with the property owner, they decided to change a course of action and request the rezoning to R4 as opposed to the PUD, because ultimately their development plans that they had proposed would be permissible within the R4 zone district based on density. So that is the first item. Ordinance 2023-507 would effectively rezone the property from R2, which was its designation upon annexation, to R4 to allow for the proposed development that they have indicated. In addition to that, they are also requesting a conditional use permit to construct a 5-unit townhouse on the site, on the eastern portion of the site. That should be dealt with through a separate action, but they are somewhat part and parcel based on their development plans. No pun intended, I guess. Based on their development plans to develop the western portion of the site with 2-unit condos and a private drive similar to the Oakview condos that currently exist upon Bowers Lake, and then develop the eastern portion of their property, which would be bisected by Oak Ridge Drive or Oakview Drive with a 5-unit townhouse development, which requires a conditional use permit. Both of these items came before the Plan Commission earlier this evening, and both had a public hearing. There was 2 individuals who spoke regarding the site layout and concerns about the close proximity of the buildings that are to be constructed. But we reminded the Plan Commission that at this time, the only item that is up for discussion is the rezoning request, and that a site plan will be brought forward at a future time that the Plan Commission would need to review and approve. Additionally, from the Common Council's perspective, there will be a future developers agreement between the City of Milton and the developer, which in this case is Park Place Investments LLC, that outlines the roles and responsibilities of public and private improvements that they're proposing on the site. The reason I bring that up is, again, what was before the Plan Commission and before the council is simply the rezoning request and the conditional use permit request for the 5-unit. The site plan will have further review by the Plan Commission at a future date when they bring that forward. Both of these items were forwarded on to the Common Council with a favorable recommendation that was unanimous.
So, in regards to the rezoning and item number 10, any questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-507, rezoning the subject property along East Bowers Lake Road from R2 to R4.
To clarify, are you moving to
Oh,
approve the
I'm
first
sorry.
reading, waive second and third, and adopt?
Yes, please.
Right. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, item number 11 then.
So again, these two items are mutually exclusive, but as part of their development plans, they would like to construct a 5-unit townhouse on the eastern portion of their development. A conditional use permit is required for all facilities that are larger, that are 5 or greater in density for a single structure. So therefore, a conditional use permit would be requested to handle that development. The Plan Commission, as recommended by the City Administration, approved that conditional use permit contingent upon the developer entering into a residential developer agreement with the City of Milton prior to the start of construction, and we hope to bring that forward to a future Plan Commission or a Common Council meeting soon.
Questions, comments?
Will that include the site plan? For
The-
those five?
The residential developers agreement will outline what will be constructed, but it won't have the site plan as a condition of approval or component of its approval. The site plan will be dealt with through a separate action by the Plan Commission, probably on a concurrent basis. No.
But the site plan doesn't come before the council, just the plan commission.
Perhaps it does if it's considered a residential subdivision plat.
Well, a plat would,
Yeah,
a site plan wouldn't.
right.
The-
Well-
The plat would come before.
Yeah.
the Council, but it'll be part and parcel as
Yeah.
Al indicated with the development
Mhm.
agreement. If that clarified, because, yeah, the site plan would be applicable, I think, to the, multi-unit
Yes,
structure.
correct.
I will move for a.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry. I will move for approval of the conditional use permit request for the property along Bowers Lake Road.
Second.
And
Is that conditioned on,
And,
Contingent upon the owner entering into a residential developers agreement.
I should have that in there, yes. And that would be contingent upon the owner entering into a developmental agreement with the city.
okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a commercial facade grant for 18 Front Street.
So the owners of 18 Front Street have requested a commercial facade grant to replace their existing awning with an identical awning. The awning that is currently in its state, as evidenced by the pictures, is kind of worn, it's tattered, it's faded, and they would like to replace it with the same awning on the same structure The only difference would be is that currently the awning only has print on it that shows Junction Laundry. They would also include information on it that would include Mike's Mr. Pizza. So that would be the only difference between the two awnings. But the commercial facade grant has been used by a number of commercial properties along Merchant Row, specifically for awning replacements, and this is certainly eligible for that expense in this location as well.
Questions, comments, a motion?
I would move approval of the commercial facade grant for 18 Front Street.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a TIF number 10 development agreement with Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC.
Late in 2022, the Plan Commission and Common Council agreed to rezone the property, the subject property along Arthur Drive. At the time, the property was split zoned, which actually is not in congruence with our ordinances. But at the time, the developer, Legacy Red Hawk Flats, had expressed interest in purchasing that property from the city, which the city had acquired through the Rock County tax foreclosure process. In order to kind of expedite that process and to fix an issue with the zoning ordinances, we rezoned the property to allow for multifamily development to occur on the site. Since that time, we've had a number of discussions with Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC about their development plans. They have a preliminary site plan that has been shown to both the Plan Commission and the Council for edification purposes, but a TIF development agreement needed to be negotiated. We have done so. And that is what is before you this evening. So ultimately, this is kind of the city standard pay-go TIF incentive in the total amount of $440,860 over a 10-year period. In addition, the city will agree to sell the land to the developer. In return, the developer agrees to develop a project that is not less than $2.5 million in total valuation at the completion of the project, in order for the city to recoup its investment in tax dollars for that project through increased valuation on the site. They intend to build two 10-unit apartment complexes, potentially, most likely in phases. But at the end of construction of those 2 units, the valuation should be enough to cover the pay-go incentive. And if it is not, there is provisions that allow for a commensurate incentive to be paid. Again, this is a similar practice that we've used in commercial settings all around the city, commercial and industrial. This will be the first time in my 9 years here that we've ever incentivized a residential development, but this is the first multifamily development that has occurred within the city of Milton in probably 20 years. So with that being said, it would be appropriate for this because it is within a TIF district and housing is such a need for the community and the region, that we would recommend approval of the TIF 10 development agreement between the City of Milton and Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC. Similar to a couple items ago, site plan will need to be finalized and brought forth before the Plan Commission for their final approval. But this TIF development agreement at least gives the developer assurances that the city is committed to this project and that they can move forward with final engineering and development plans for that site.
Questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the TIF 10 development agreement between the City of Milton and Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. And then number 14. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2023-03, authorizing the execution of closing documents and warranty deed related to the sale of land to Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC along Arthur Drive.
So as part of the TIF development agreement, which was just approved moments ago by the Common Council, the execution of the sale of land to Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC would need to be approved via resolution 2023-03, which authorizes the execution of closing documents and warranty deed related to the sale of property, the subject property. So at this time, a closing has not been scheduled between the city and the developer, but that should be forthcoming shortly.
Did you want me to read the resolution, or are you okay if I don't read the resolution? Okay. Questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the TIF development agreement with Red Hawk Flats.
Second.
That's not
This one is number
14.
Resolution 2023-03.
Geez, sorry. A motion to approve resolution 2023-03, authorizing execution of closing documents for Legacy Red Hawk Flats LLC.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Number 15, discussion and possible action regarding 2023 farmland leases.
Okay, I can take this one. So each year we have farmland leases that is property within the city of Milton that we use for maybe designated for future developments, but they don't have a plan at this point, and so we use it for productive crop uses to different farms. So these are relatively the same as last year. There's only a couple changes. One, all of the leases have added language to account for crop damage, and that is an amount up to and not to exceed the lease amount. And then the other portion is with Brian and Jill Gunnick. Their portion, they had it 56.95 acre parcel that a portion was purchased by Signature Warehousing, so it reduced it to 29 acres. And then we changed the amount in that reduction based on the difference in acreage.
Questions or comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2023 farmland leases as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. 16, discussion and possible action regarding change in officer for the issued Class A retailer's license fermented malt beverage and Class A retailer's license intoxicating liquor cider only at Quick Trip number 295 located at 1157 Gateway Drive.
I don't think I could have made that agenda item any longer. So Quick Trip has had a change in their officers. President Donald Zietlow has retired, and so Scott Zietlow has been appointed because there are two liquor licenses attached to this property that have been issued by the city of Milton. That change in officer, it does need to be approved by the Common Council. So if this city has completed a background check and there was no significant findings.
Questions or comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the amended Class A retailer's license fermented malt beverage and Class A retailer's license intoxicating liquor cider only for Quick Trip number 295, including Scott Zietlow as the corporation's president.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, now the most controversial item, discussion and possible direction regarding no mow May within the city of Milton.
Okay, I will take that one too. So last year there was a trend going around, an unofficial program that was called No Mow May, and there were some communities that were on TV, television, publications discussing it, and so we received a lot of phone calls. When I say a lot of phone calls, some were in support of it, some just asking questions, some were concerned if they mowed if they'd get in trouble. So we, at that point, council had said that they wanted to discuss it for this year and see if it was something that they would like to put into place, not put into place, or not enforce. So staff is requesting direction at this point of what the next steps would be, since May is not that far off.
Larry, comments?
Just a couple. One is I would rather not make it mandatory, I guess would be the word. I think it's a good idea if people want to participate. there's some value. The early time of the year in May is when a lot of our, birds are nesting, when a lot of our beneficial bugs are, nesting and things like that. The other benefit, interestingly enough, is there's a little less pollution than in the communities when the lawnmowers aren't running during the month of May. So that benefits our air quality.
So this is very beneficial to bees. And now I just have a quick question for clarification. Would the city not be mowing in May, or is this a residential idea?
That's a great question. It's not anything that we had discussed internally here, whether the city would mow during May or not. My inclination is that we would, without giving it a whole lot of thought. My initial thoughts, just off the cuff, are because those are public spaces intended for passive and active use, that may present challenges, maybe even hazards in those facilities, especially where there's active uses. I would imagine we would get a tremendous amount of flack from the youth groups if they were, trying to run through the outfield through, 9 or 12 inches of grass. So, again, without giving it much thought or discussing it internally, I would say that we would probably continue to mow. However, there are certainly areas within the city that are city-owned that we do routinely mow that could be forewent for the month of May, foregone for the month of May. But we would need to make sure that we would discuss those and be thoughtful about it.
And then I know when we were discussing this last year internally, like we talked about if people were going to participate, that maybe, and I'm not saying that staff has to do this. I'm just saying that maybe there would be signs available or something, right, that people could place in their yards. So the city was, or are we just going to like let everybody not mow and just not do anything? Like, so people knew that they weren't violating our weed ordinances if they weren't mowing.
How about if we just go ahead with our weed ordinance for this year? Maybe just look into this a little more, because we're gonna have to put people time into this. So how about if we just continue?
Well, let's ask if they did put people time into it, because that's what we asked them to do last year, and if they haven't put any time in it, they're not gonna have time to be putting it this, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already been a year.
Right, exactly. But I'm talking about the office staff. I don't want to have to redo this next year. But what I'm thinking is that why don't we just continue with what we're doing and extend the deadline for the mow to June 6th? That way, on June 6th, we have, which is the first week, it goes through the first weekend of June. That way, people who want to participate in it can still participate in it, but yet, come June, they need to take care of their lawns.
I think there's going to be staff time involved one way or another, because unless there's a press release or an official position taken, the phone calls are going to come again with people confused. So we need to provide some clarity. What I'm thinking, based on conversation and my own thoughts here, is that it is a voluntary program, that we would be indicating that it's okay to observe no mow May, and that perhaps there's a moratorium on. I don't think that the grass is going to grow long enough to violate the weed ordinance in May. Although
Oh, yeah,
the weather
it
that
will.
we've got, it might. We might have to put in place that there is a moratorium on enforcement of the weed ordinance until, as Linda suggests.
Yeah, because if you don't mow your lawn, because I can tell you that I did this last year, not in the city of Milton. If you don't mow your lawn in the month of May, it might take you 2 cuttings in the month of June to cut your grass. And if it rains, it may take you all of the month of June to cut your grass. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not like advocating one way or the other. I love bees. It's a great idea. But, just so we understand that, I mean, I don't think homeowners, some of them understand what it's like to go a whole month without cutting your grass and trying to cut it. It's the only thing I would caution about. That we maybe provide something in a newsletter.
Don't we have another water bill coming out before then that we could do a newsletter on that?
We,
How about just May, Mo, May?
that's a great idea. That's so catchy, Larry. Mike?
I did look, and there was some communities that instead of doing your whole yard, they just recommended an area in your yard that you don't mow.
Yeah, well,
The
we're not going to
animals
police that, though.
and the bees will go to that area. They will go to that area because the grass is taller. That's where so that addresses some of that. So especially if you got a neighbor who mows. So you mow on your lot lines and around, but you leave an area in the middle that you allow to be. It's just another idea. But
If I can add a little bit, I did do some research into different municipalities. I reached out on our clerk's list, and there was three pretty consistent options that cities and towns were using. Was either they were saying that they were encouraging people not to mow during May, or they were doing an official program, signs, press releases, putting that portion in, also recaps at the end to see how many people were doing it, having conservation clubs involved in it. Or there was no enforcement, so they were saying it's up to you. We just are not going to be issuing any notices until that time. Or there was where they were saying mandatory. We are not going to allow you to do it in May. Now, again, that was very few. I would say that was I think that was one or two, but those were the three options that were given from municipalities that have participated in some way or another.
You're lucky.
Can I break a rule and do this now or not?
Just go ahead.
All right, I'm property owner from Second Street. I'm Lisa Brown. Okay, I saw this last year. You haven't talked about or considered people that have dogs. So that kind of is a problem, and I appreciate the conservation part of it. I appreciate the bee part of it, but there's also a health hazard and safety, public safety part of it. We already have neighbors around town. I walk, I run, I walk my dog that do not pick up after their dog. Now you throw in grass that is 6 inches, 4 inches higher, and that gives them a whole lot of permission to even be worse dog owners. So I'm just throwing that one out there for consideration in your conversation. Thanks for letting me break a rule.
You know that was not easy for me to do. I just want you to know that. So, direction, council, direction.
If we were going to do something with the pollinating program or something with the bees and that, then I could see doing the signs and all that kind of stuff. But I really like the idea of just not sending notices to people until the month of June, or extend that mow date.
All right, well, someone needs to make a motion. Well, I think if you want to do something, you should do it at this meeting and be done with it. One way or the other. Either just be like, we're not going to, status quo, but I think you have to decide. So people are going to start calling. So
I would move then that we adopt the May no mo idea, which would convey to the public, and that we would convey to the public that there are benefits to it, that it's an option that people can pursue, and that there'll be a moratorium on the weed notice until what day of the week is what's the first Monday in June?
sixth, I believe. Is it?
The fifth, until June fifth.
Yeah, and then they have to mow. Okay, I'm sorry. Can I add?
Second.
Can I add to that and just?
A motion and a second was already done, so unless you wanna like have them amend it,
I wanna,
you have to turn your microphone on.
voluntary,
May, no mo, may.
that word, that's voluntary.
That was part of the motion that was adopted as an option.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Alright, everybody understand the motion and the second? Do you wanna do a roll call vote? No.
Haven't done one of those in a while. As a matter of fact, I don't.
It's just so tempting. All those in favor say aye. Or anyone opposed?
You don't like bees, do you?
Eric Stockman's running the show now.
So you missed the year.
Can I offer something else? Can we somehow communicate on our website, to address that issue? That we really encourage people, please pick up your dog feces. Because, I mean, that's critical to the benefit of the community.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Right.
somehow.
We
just
can put that in the newsletter. Okay,
Yeah, I said it on public TV.
well, along with, pictures of the sewer, it's all the same.
Oh, yeah.
Next meeting date is Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. It's Wednesday. Wednesday at 6 p.m. Okay. And we're not going to send out a remind. No, we'll send you out notice. We'll probably send you out multiple emails. I don't know if there's any. Is there committee reports? Ryan?
Yeah, historic preservation met last Wednesday and talked about our work plan for the coming year, or for this year, and interpretive science.
Nice.
That are going out potentially.
Any other committee reports?
We had a very successful open house for the Milton Township Fire Department. It was very well attended, and just as I've always said, you could never thank those people that have put their lives on the line for other people and also their families. And I just want to thank everybody that came and all the people that were involved.
Right. Thanks. Anything else from first committee reports? Inga?
There we go. The police commission met and they started to review 3 proposals that were received for the police chief recruitment. They're going to be meeting again in a couple weeks to go over some reference checks for those 3 consultants, and then they'll make a recommendation to council on who to select for that. So we're moving right along and a planned timeline, so going great.
Okay. Staff, the library. I feel like there's an announcement, like a big announcement.
Not really big. We've had a lot of things going on though right now.
Isn't there something about eggs or something?
Oh yeah, that's on my list. So we have an egg incubator in our makerspace, the Spark. We're working with Stacy Skemp and some of her students at the high school. They're going to be coming in, kind of maintaining it, to keep an eye on it, and we will hopefully have some chickens in about 20 days or so.
And then, is this going to be a source of revenue when we start selling the eggs? We didn't put that in the resolution to
right.
encourage the state to allow us to sell eggs.
Right. It's not. We haven't considered it, but we can talk.
Well, I think we should have chickens at the library. I mean, DPW can build a chicken coop.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for story gardens, that'd be great. So that's pretty awesome. So it's in our makerspace. You can come take a look at it. We are going to be launching Dial a Story on Monday. So it's going to be a dedicated phone number that people can call and listen to staff members read stories. And then hopefully we'll involve community members as well and kind of showcase some Milton history with stories as well. So very excited about it. I remember when I was 6 years old calling the library to listen to a story. fun to bring that back.
How late can I call?
Anytime.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
so I can get a story read to me before I go to bed?
You got it. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
We are going to be creating a board game collection. So our puzzles have been so popular. We have over 100 puzzles. They've been checked out over 600 times. So thanks to the Library Foundation, we are going to be putting in some puzzles. I have about 20 that will be going out tomorrow, and we're going to be adding more throughout the next couple weeks. So if you want to try a board game without having to buy a $35 board game, you can come to the library. And we are going to be hosting the school district art show starting in March. So it has been previously at the Milton House, but it's going to come to the library. And again, when I was younger, I remember visiting the library to see my art when it used to be hosted there. So we're very excited. Art from students in all grades will be showcased at the library. And that's about it.
Thank you. Awesome. Mark.
I don't really have anything.
Yes, there's nothing going on at DPW.
It might snow tomorrow.
Okay, throw in the good old weather report if nothing else. Kelsey?
Our 2022 audit is scheduled for March 6th through the 8th, so I have just been busy preparing everything for that.
Nice. Inga?
We do have a posting out there for seasonal crew persons for the summer for Public Works. We have a couple applications looking for some more, so encourage people to apply. And the website launched, the new website, in January. So take a look at it. Let me know if you find anything that needs to be tweaked or added. I will add something about dog feces too. But just working through some different kinks in the website right now, and excited to see it up and live.
Awesome. Jenny?
So I just have an election update. It's the spring primary on Tuesday, February 21st, and I will send out reminders for the council meeting. But that it's going to be on the 22nd. But for absentee ballots, for those that requested them, we did send out those on Thursday, January 27th, and so far 48 have been returned. In-person absentee voting did begin today, and so we had 6 voters come in, and it continues until Friday, February 17th. On Tuesday, February 14th, at 10 a.m., we will have our public test for the voting equipment. And then, just as a reminder, the last day to request an absentee ballot is Thursday, February 16th. So lots of dates, but I'll be sending reminders out too of those dates as we get a little closer.
Okay. Al?
The next meeting, as we've talked about a couple of times already, will be Wednesday, February 22nd. We're expecting a number of items on that agenda at this time, including kind of my favorite night, which is the year in review, where we get to look back at all the things that we've done in 2022. And we're also going to be bringing forward, very likely, probably one of the largest infrastructure packages. It is by far the largest infrastructure package that we've undertaken since I've been here. And our goal with that is still to have no general obligation or levy supported debt, but it's going to be substantial. We're in the $5 million mark at this point. Some of those projects are absolutely necessary, and some of them are very much long overdue. So that will be a very lengthy, at least discussion as we talk about the funding options and the funding package that we're going to propose for that. That includes a variety of sources. There will be a borrowing component, but we're really hoping to avoid any levy-supported debt in that discussion. So the 22nd will have a lot of exciting stuff on it.
So that's going to be the city's infrastructure week.
Yeah.
I'll have to do a proclamation that night for that. Kelsey's nodding, like she's like, yeah. All right, so big infrastructure week coming up in the city. All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,